This is lesson 41 for course 1, finding a percent of a number. So when you're looking at percents of a number, you have to remember a couple of things. One, when you revert a fraction into a percentage and how to revert a percentage into a fraction, and then how to take that fraction and turn it into a decimal number. So let's say we have 15%. 15% as a fraction is 15 over 100. Now, if we change that into a decimal, that is 15 hundredths. So this is the big thing we're going to want to find percentages of a number, is knowing what this decimal is. Now, the lesson, before we really fully get into that, just wants us to go over and remind ourselves how to reduce fractions. So if we have 75%, okay, 75% is 75 over 100. That's what it is. Okay, its decimal form is 75 hundredths. But if we wanted to reduce or put it into lowest terms, we need to look for a number that divides both of these equally. And we want the biggest number we possibly can. Now, I know from looking at this and from working with money that 25 goes into both 75 and 100. So I could divide both by 25. And I would get 3 25s is 75 and 4 is a dollar. So my lowest terms is 3/4. Now, if you didn't know 25 right away, you could have done other ones. You could have done, it would go down by 5 and then you'd find the next one and the next one and the next one. You just have to keep going until you get to lowest terms. So if you don't find the biggest one, you need to check that the fraction you get is the lowest terms. If it's not, you need to keep reducing. Okay, so my lowest terms for this one is 3/4. Okay, and that now has been reduced. 75% of 20. Okay, now 75 we already know is 3/4. We've just done that. So it's 3/4 of 20. Okay, now this we have done before. Okay, this we have done where we have gone and said, okay, well, I'm going to take 20. I'm going to divide it by the denominator, 4. I'm going to get 5, and I need 3 5s. So 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, that's one way to do it. Okay, I still got what I needed. 75% of 20 is 15. Okay, but I had to take that 75 and revert it into its lowest terms fraction before I could do that. Okay, another way of doing it, okay, and revert it into a decimal number. So 75 hundredths is 75 hundredths. And you take that 75 hundredths and you times it by 20. Okay, so 75 hundredths times 20. Let's take our 20. We're going to times 75. And we're going to go through. So 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. Done with that. 0 down the bottom. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 2 is 14. Add them together. 0 plus 0, 0 plus 0. 1 plus 4 is 5. 1 is that. And then because it's timesing, I need to come back and I need to check how many decimal places I have. I have 2 decimal places. So 1, 2. My answer is 15. So as you see, both got the same answer. I got 15. 75% of 20 is 15. I can do that with fractions or I can do it with decimals. The reason we're looking at it by using the decimal number instead is because it saves you a step. You don't have to take 75 over 100 and put it into lowest terms. You just take it, make it into a decimal, and do your multiplication. 80% of 25. Now again, I could do 80% over 100, put it into lowest terms, then multiply by the fraction, or divide with the fraction, or I can just change it into a decimal number, which is 8 hundredths. Sorry, wrote that wrong. So 80% is 80 over 100, which is 80 hundredths, which we write like this. Now, I know this one might be confusing because normally we wouldn't say 80 hundredths here, we would say 8 tenths. But you are just, when you're converting this into decimals, what's actually happening is you're dividing 80 by 100. And whenever you divide by 100, you just move the decimal place over twice because there's two zeros. So if the decimal place was here, I move it over twice, 1, 2, and make a decimal number. Okay, so this is how you write 80 over 100 in decimal numbers. Okay, so we're now going to times this by the 25. Let me write it over here. 25 times, I'm just going to say decimal. Oh, sorry. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. Done with the 0. 8 times 5, oh, carry a 0. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4. 8 times 2 is 16. 17, 18, 19, 20. And I look up here and I go, how many places do I have? Okay, because I could add it all together. How many places do I have? 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2. 20. So 80% of 25 is 20. Again, you could have taken this number, put it into lowest terms, then done division, and then multiplication, or you could just do the multiplication. Okay, now again, notice, even though normally I probably wouldn't put that 0 there, we have this time for the purpose of two place values. So if something like this happens, you need to have that 0 here in this case because we need to have two place values. If I had taken that 0 away and just done it by 8 tenths, then I would have only had one place value and my answer would have been 200. Okay, so if you have two numbers up here, you have to have two numbers in your decimal. Okay, two numbers here, two number in decimal, because that makes it so that we can accurately say how many decimal places we had to get the correct answer, which is 20 in this case. We'll do. Okay. So here's our question. The sales tax rate was 6%. Find the tax on a $12 item, then find the total price with tax. So this is actually what happens in the store all the time when you buy groceries and anything else, is you have tax on those items. So you will have the number that you are paying for the items before tax and after tax if you look at your receipts. So 6%, again, is 6 over 100. When you are converting this into a decimal, remember when you're basically dividing is what you're doing. You are taking this and you are dividing it by 100. Okay, when you do that, you just move the decimal place over twice because there's two zeros down here. So I have 6, the decimal is here. I move it over 1, 2 times, decimal is now here, which means I have a 0 there. Okay, so your number is 6 hundredths. Okay, 6 hundredths. So I'm going to times my 12 by my 6 hundredths. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 6 times 1 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. And I could now do a bunch of zeros if I wanted to, but I don't really, because this one would just be 0 for the one I crossed out, and then 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 2 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0. So you could do that, or you could just leave it. I'm just going to leave it. Okay, so I have this number. I come back up here, count my decimal places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my decimal place. So I have decimal 72 hundredths. I don't need these zeros now. They're just placeholders. So I have decimal 72. So this is, because we're talking about money, 72 cents. So on a $12 purchase, you pay 72 cents tax, which means, because it wants to find out what your total price is with tax, you are going to take your $12 and you're going to add the 72 cents, which gives you $12.72. Okay, that is how you find tax on a number. So again, things to remember. If it ever confuses you on how to write it, just think that you are dividing your numerator by your denominator. The 2 zeros means the decimal place moves to the left twice. So you write 6, move it over twice, you have your decimal, 600ths. Okay? You then need to multiply. Make sure you count your decimal places once you've multiplied. And if you are adding it, you then add it to your original number. Okay, and there you are. On a $12 purchase, you are paying $12.72 with tax. That is lesson 41, finding a percent of a number for course 1.